Hello again everybody and welcome to WrestleLine. I'm your host John Scott, joined as always by my co-host Matt Essex. And Matt, we've been away to Hong Kong, we're finally back. We're going to bring this podcast out on a Friday, which is unusual because we normally of course try and do our general show on a Monday. But Matt, how you doing? And obviously back on the UK soil again. We're pretty much caught up, I believe, to scratch on all things WWE at least, and lots of things have been happening.
Oh yeah, definitely. It just proved that point that we said before, that it's such a commitment these days to keep up to date with these shows. Came back, never ending. I'm finally there now, and I'm glad to be back in the swing of things and talking about more what's been going on, because I couldn't believe just how much has happened. Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank everybody who kept in touch with us whilst myself and Matt were in Hong Kong, and yes, we did have a great time. It's it's definitely a place I probably literally myself and Matt, we got hooked up on this trip through our jobs. Basically, we're fortunate enough to have that, and I guess one of the perks of the jobs, Matt, is there, but it's not somewhere I would have chose to have gone myself. But however, since I visited Hong Kong, I've got to say I was quite impressed with it, and definitely well recommended. I think for anybody that's into that culture, and especially in Asia in general, it's a definite place now, a good fixture to go along with for somewhere like Tokyo that I've always quite liked as well. So definitely a great place to visit. Matt, I take it you were the same. You enjoyed Hong Kong. Obviously, wrestling wise, not at the forefront in Hong Kong, is it, in China? But you can still get access. We did have access to the network. Just for anybody that was asking, I know that WWE launched the WWE Network, I think only about a year ago, or maybe two, I think, something like that. So we were fortunate enough to get our hands on that. Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the trip. Like I said, we're lucky enough to get that through our job, so can't turn opportunities like that down when you get the chance. Just as you said, though, shame there was no local kind of wrestling events that we could find. But maybe next time we go away, there will be something wrestling related coming out of that.
However, in saying that, I want to give a shout out to somebody who got in touch with me. Actually, when I landed back, I did message him when I was out there. It was ironic, he was at the same time as us, Samuel Gradle, who some of you may recognise, definitely if you're in the UK, but he was involved in the UK WWE tournament a year ago. You may have recognised his name. Well, he was over there doing one of the first ever Chinese shows that week, ironically enough, and he does listen to this show, and he sent a shout out to us. So that was kind of a cool thing, but it was oddly timing there. But I've got back. I loaded the WWE Network up. I had seen bits and pieces of news when I was in Hong Kong. It's one of those things, you just can't get away from it sometimes. So I was seeing snippets of rumours and some news come out. I hadn't really seen too much of the wrestling. Loaded up the network. I've got to say, let me just say this before we even get on to the show here and what's coming up about the WWE Network. I find it really, compared to Netflix, I'm telling you, they are behind. The idea of trying to find things and going back on things, like even just like Fastlane, it was a bit of a headache, and I get kind of bored of doing it. Like it becomes a time where I'm like, well, I can't be bothered to now search this out, because this is such a flipping, like, especially when I'm doing it on my Roku. It's not so bad if I'm like on my mobile, but then I don't really want to be sitting on my mobile for the entire time watching a pay-per-view. So I try to switch these things on my Roku box, but my God, it is so tough. I think, honestly, WWE, if you're listening, somebody who works in that department, get the format sorted out. Make it more accessible, a little bit more easier for us to access these things. And, you need to look at, Amazon Prime, you need to look at Netflix, these other streaming services that have been in the game a bit longer, but they could definitely do with a little bit of touching up in that area. But coming up on this show, just for everybody that wants to know, we're going to be talking, of course, yes, Daniel Bryan. Loads of emails in about him, so I couldn't really start the show without talking about Daniel Bryan. We're also going to be have a quick chat on WWE Fastlane as well. Also, what we all thought about the Ultimate Deletion version 2, shall we say, on that one. The Undertaker, is he coming back? And if he does come back, is it the American Badass? Going to give you guys a rundown on our Mania week lineup. Also, just a little bit of injury news on a few wrestlers, not only in WWE but on the outside as well. And we're going to just briefly touch on some parts such as Braun Strowman and the possible what's happening there with him at WrestleMania. I know we've had a lot of people, Matt, writing some funny partners for him to have at WrestleMania, so I thought it'd be worth reading some of them out. And also some news that's just come out in the last 48 hours, Matt. I don't know if you've seen it around. I might have sent you the link, but Hulk Hogan possibly back in talks with WWE, and after 4 years, I think, since he's not been there. So is the time right for him to come back? Plus, we'll just give a little key rundown of what we've got so far confirmed at WrestleMania. And we'll literally go from there. Don't forget, folks, if you want to email the show, it's wrestleline@gmail.com. But Matt, I want to start the show, top of the show, with I think some a positive announcement. One that I've got to be honest, I was very surprised about, and the timing of it and everything else surprised me the most. But Daniel Bryan, Matt, Bryan Danielson, who, subject a couple of years ago, was never going to be able to wrestle. The WWE doctor especially said no, but I know that he'd gone outside of that and they said he could. But the fact that the WWE doctor said it, there was no way of getting around it. I've read a few things up, Matt, but from your point of view, what's changed? Why is he now able to wrestle, and how come this is a convenient thing, isn't it, at the moment, and the timing of it? What do you make of the announcement, Matt, and how surprised was you hearing about Daniel Bryan getting cleared again, essentially?
Well, I knew that he would have been capable to fight, because he was quite adamant about that. He wanted to get in that ring no matter what.
Sure.
And it was kind of for me, I was just waiting for him to announce that he was going to leave WWE. I was assuming he was going to go elsewhere to pursue this, like maybe New Japan or Ring of Honor, somewhere like that, and he could have continued his career, because it's obviously clearly what he's most passionate about.
Absolutely.
But I wasn't surprised that he sought help outside WWE and that they would clear him, because he definitely made it sound like he knew his own body well enough.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was surprised about was, like you said, about the WWE doctor actually coming forth and clearing him. But if you're WWE, it's a smart move, really. You do want to keep a close tab on your talent. Whether he's in the ring or not, he is an incredible athlete, and he has that connection with the fans. Sort of unparalleled at this point. It's only him and CM Punk that can get that kind of reaction from the crowd. And Daniel Bryan, as it so happens, is the only one right now with an interest in getting back in that ring. So to actually keep reviewing his case was just an intelligent move from WWE.
Absolutely. I think the interesting thing is you're right. I mean, I don't think fans are very interested in seeing him as the general manager. I don't think he's over in that role as much as he is in that ring. I think that he's one of the few wrestlers. Because the thing is, mate, you always get wrestlers that are popular, like superstars, as they call them, like John Cena, and you get the names. But when it comes bell to bell, fans often turn off a little bit, and they're like, well, we only like the finisher, we only like certain bits of them. But Daniel Bryan is one of the few guys, along with who you mentioned as well, CM Punk, that when it comes bell to bell, everybody just enjoys his work. And you back that up with, he's not somebody you look at. I mean, if you look at Daniel Bryan when he started, he was not a guy you'd say, well, he's good on promos. But what he does do, and I don't know how much impact this really had, but for me, from my point of view, I always looked at Total Divas as being his best move, because he came across like, hang on a minute, this is exactly who he is. He's not pretending. This is Daniel Bryan, and he comes across very sincere. He comes across very average, normal. He doesn't like to live the big, hefty lifestyle. He's quite happy with the small things in life, and he just likes wrestling. And I think there's a very big likability about him that you just can't get that through just great promos or anything else. Like you listen to a lot of guys and you think, my God, that's scripted. He doesn't really mean that, but from Daniel Bryan, I don't know. He's one of those guys, like they used to say about Jake Roberts, you could never split the two apart from the character in him. I think Daniel Bryan is an absolute accurate description of that. I think the character and him are very, very transparent to one another, and I think this is why he gets over so well. It's obviously it's down to his in-ring first and foremost. This is why we all love him. But there is a likability about this guy, Matt, that people seem to even now. I was quite astonished how much of an impact this is still made. But it also showed me as well that perhaps, WWE in trying to make new stars, they do seem to struggle now. Like, it's all right saying, well, Roman Reigns, he gets these fantastic reactions, but they're clearly not quite the reaction that WWE would really like. They would love Roman to just be absolutely adored like a Daniel Bryan. But these type of characters, Matt, they don't come along. They seem very rare now. So the question I get now, I suppose now, Matt, is he going to be? Do you think he's going to be on the road like a full-time guy, or do you think that, like me, they're probably going to keep him sort of like he only wrestles on sort of big matches and one-off matches, and they assess him, every single match type thing, rather than having him on the road every week, on SmackDown, etc., etc. How do you use Daniel Bryan now, Matt? If you're WWE, how do you think they'll go with him?
Yeah, I wouldn't go in too deep too fast because we had this sort of situation a couple of years ago, didn't we, where he was suspected of an injury and they took him off TV for quite a while and they brought him back, and it wasn't too long before the injury was aggravated again and then he was off until now. So, I would definitely ease him in slowly and keep that under surveillance, see how that goes. But I have no doubts that he wanted to be a full-time kind of guy. And I wouldn't say that was off the cards. I mean, I would like to see him in that role more than I would the general manager role. But they've also got to tie up loose ends with this storyline. So he's got to come out of that some way, hasn't he? So I wouldn't expect him to just jump in the deep end.
Yeah, there's some incredible matches that people have been emailing me in, like who Daniel Bryan could face. Like AJ Styles having that match, would be absolutely fantastic, wouldn't it, to finally get that? And Shinsuke Nakamura as well. You throw him in there as another great name. But even on Raw, you'd say there's still some incredible matches he could have there as well with guys. So there's money to be made with Daniel Bryan. But, I think, look, the likelihood is, I think, from what we know at the moment, Brock Lesnar isn't going to be around that much longer. So, to have a guy working that schedule isn't really a bad thing. I mean, I'd rather have him doing that than nothing. So I'd take, him just doing maybe 3 or 4 matches a year over, what we've got now. So I'd be more than happy with that because I think you can get some big box office matches out of that, and I think that's what he should be. I think he's had his big moment at WrestleMania 30, New Orleans. How ironic, Matt, that we're back in New Orleans this year. Obviously people are expecting him to be at WrestleMania now. Do you think that's a definite? Or do you think they may hold out further?
Well, for me, I'm highly expecting him to be at WrestleMania. It just makes too much sense. The way that the story arc's gone with him and Shane both being attacked by Sammy and Kevin makes perfect sense for a 2-on-2 kind of match. And not only that, if they were going to hold off on that, why announce it 2 weeks before WrestleMania when he's cleared? Why not wait until just after WrestleMania? There's too much coincidence going on there.
Yeah. You know what? When I was watching SmackDown this week, and when he was doing those kicks, I just thought, blimey, I know that The Miz does those kicks, but when Daniel Bryan does them, he does such a job of making it look so lethal. The way he snaps his leg into place. I mean, God, he was in a suit doing it. So he's a phenomenal star, Daniel Bryan. I know people say strong style was Nakamura, but Daniel Bryan does have that about him as well. He does work very, stiff at times, but at the same time, he's very agile. So, but he's got that about him, and he is he's a 5-star quality performer. There's no doubt about it, Daniel Bryan, and obviously one of my favourites. To be honest, I haven't enjoyed a WrestleMania build-up since Daniel Bryan's, if I'm totally honest. With absolute momentum from, what happened at the Royal Rumble, and then the idea that WWE quickly changed things around and went, instead of going against the tide as they always seem